Hi everyone. So welcome to the live stream today. Very much excited for having you yet again on another day as we continue with our discussion towards the ICA May 2021 examination. Like we started yesterday, we're focusing on the fundamental issues that we need to understand when it comes to management accounting. This is relevant for ACCA F2, ACCA F5, ICA Introduction to Management Accounting, ICA Management Accounting, and also CIMA P1 examination in that case. So welcome to the live stream. I see some of you guys joining. We want to continue with our discussion we started yesterday on accounting for overheads. We saw the various issues that relates to what constitutes overhead, the three schools of thought in relation to absorption costing, marginal costing, and activity-based costing. And then we made mention of the fact that we're going to start a journey with absorption costing, and we discussed that there are three stages when it comes to absorption costing: overhead allocation, overhead apportionment, and then overhead absorption. And we looked at what overhead allocation meant. We looked at the overhead absorption, and that was what we were on. And we had some technical hinges, hence we needed to end the stream yesterday before our time officially. But we want to continue with the discussion today and look at where we left last week. Yes, yesterday, not last week, yesterday, and see how we go about it. So if you joined the stream on Facebook, on YouTube, you are welcome to the stream. Smash the like button on the video when you join, and also share the video. Let us together reach as many students as possible. Now on YouTube, some messages coming in. Amadou Abdul Moonin said, "Good day, sir." Good day, Abdul. I hope that you're doing well. If you're watching on Facebook, share the video. Let us reach as many students as possible. Then also comment in the chat box any questions that you have for me, what you want me to share my thoughts on as we build our knowledge and understanding on this. So let me share my screen with you real quick as we get into the discussion for the day. Right. So we looked at a question yesterday relating to, we were dealing with the issue about overhead, accounting for overheads, like I mentioned a moment ago. And we discussed the various things that we need to understand when it comes to accounting for overheads. We spent some time to look at the cost sheet again, the cost card, how we're going to prepare the cost sheet or the cost card. Then we considered a question or looked at a question that is XPLC limited on how the cost card will be dealt with and how we will be able to deal with the overhead absorption rate. And then we ended around there yesterday. So we want to just build up straight up from there and continue with the discussion. And the next thing we want to look at is overhead apportionment as we started yesterday. Overhead apportionment. Now, if you remember the discussion yesterday, we made mention of the fact that when it comes to overhead apportionment, it means that we are going to be apportioning the overheads to the cost centers on a fair basis. And so just a quick recap, we made mention of the fact that there are bases of apportionment that we need to use to absorb the various overheads. Issues like depreciation on building, insurance cost. We could use the floor area occupied or the floor space occupied by each department or each cost center or cost unit in the determination of the overhead cost. Then we said issues like canteen cost, supervisors cost, personal administration. We can use the number of employees in the various cost centers or the cost unit to be able to, the cost centers, to be able to determine or calculate the total cost that we need to incur for the respective department under consideration. Then we said issues such as electricity. We can use the meter reading or the horsepower of the machine to be able to determine how much overheads has to be charged to the various cost centers and cost units of the organization in that case. So we spent time on this and we looked at the XPLC. So this was the question we were on, the overhead allocation, the overhead absorption. That was what we were on yesterday, and we ended the live stream unexpectedly. So we're going to just go through that again and solve the question and see how we can prepare the overhead analysis sheet or the overhead apportionment sheet or card for a particular organization under consideration. So let's look at it. The requirement here is to allocate and apportion production overheads cost among the three departments using the suitable basis. So we are going to be using the suitable basis here. So we see production overheads costs for the period respectively. We see factory rent there. We see factory heat there. We see processing department supervisor, packaging department supervisor, depreciation of equipment, factory canteen expenses, welfare costs of employees, factory employees. So we want to look at how we're going to be absorbing the overheads. And the examiner also gave us an additional information on how the various overheads will be absorbed by the organization and also look at it. So we made mention of the fact that when it comes to the factory rent, we could use the cubic space occupied by each of the department. There are three departments here: processing department, packaging department, and then the canteen department. So we're going to use the factory the cubic space occupied by each of them to allocate or apportion the 20,000 here. That is the factory rent. Then we said factory heat. That one also we could use the cubic space in there to do the workings there. Then when it comes to the supervisor cost, this is directly allocated, all right? It is directly allocated. So processing department supervisor, packaging department supervisor, it is directly allocated. So since we're just going to bring it up straight in that case. Then depreciation of equipment. Now, if you look at depreciation of equipment, the appropriate basis of apportionment will be the net book value of equipment. Okay, the net book value of equipment. That could be used as the appropriate basis of apportionment for the overhead relating to the depreciation of equipment. Depreciation of equipment. Then the next thing there is to talk about the issue in relation to factory canteen expenses. Factory canteen expenses. Now, when it comes to canteen expenses, what do? Canteen exists for the employees or to feed the employees. Hence, we are going to be absorbing the overheads using the number of employees. Okay, the number of employees there. Then we see welfare cost of factory employees. Welfare cost of factory employees. So welfare cost of factory employees also, the base basis of apportionment is to use the number of employees in here. So let's go to the overhead analysis sheet and then let's see how it will be prepared. So overhead analysis sheet. Overhead analysis sheet. So we're going to bring the element of cost. We'll bring the basis of apportionment here. We'll bring the total here. Then there are three departments coming in. So we have three departments. That is processing, packaging, and canteen. So we could have processing here. Then packaging could be here. And then canteen will be here. I'm trying to squeeze things here. So we're slashing on our currency signs. So we're going to bring in the element of cost, the basis of apportionment, Then we do the various workings for it. So let me just work it out like that. So the first element of cost is factory rent. So we're going to bring that in. Factory rent. So the way we share factory rent is we said we will use what? The cubic space. Now the total factory rent we are sharing is $20,000. So you put it in total. Then you go back to the table to pick the total cubic space occupied. Now if you realize the total cubic space occupied is going to be 80,000. Okay? 50,000 plus 25,000 plus 5,000, and that is going to be 80,000. Okay, so we're going to do workings on the next page. So I'm going to do workings here, and we are sharing the factory rent. So we said the total cubic space is 80,000 meter cube. So processing department will be here. Packaging department will be here. And then canteen. Department will be here. So when it comes to processing department has 50,000 and we are sharing 20,000. So that's 50,000 meter cube over the 80,000 meter cube times the $20,000 that we are sharing. So let's see what we got when we punch this out. I didn't bring my Casio calculator today, so I'm going to struggle a little bit here though, but let's see what I can do. 50 divided by, if somebody can punch fastest hand and put it in the chat for me too, I'll be grateful. So 50 over 80 times 20,000. So I'm getting 12,500. Please confirm these figures. All right, Amadou, thank you very much on YouTube. 12,500 there for packaging. Then we go to processing. Sorry, for processing. Packaging is 25,000. So we're going to have 25,000 meter cube over the 80,000 multiplied by 20,000. Let's see what we got. So 25 over 80 times 20,000. That's 6,500. 6250. Please be confirming these figures as well because I'm using a calculator that on another phone that I don't think I can trust too much. So canteen department, I think canteen department did 5,000 or has 5,000 cubic meters. So that's going to be 5,000 meter cube over 80,000 times 20,000. Now, one way to go about this fast is if 25 is giving you 6250, you can divide that by 5 and you will get the answer in there. So 5, 80, 20,000. That'll be 1,250. So that is the cost allocation. All right, that is the cost allocation. So 12,500 here, 6250 here, and then 1250 there. So we'll go back to the previous slide and then put the answers down. So 12,500. Then we're going to have 6250. Then we're going to have 1250. Okay, so that is it. Okay, Charles Nkrumah 2 is confirming. Thank you very much. So let's continue with the discussion in there. So I'm going to rule a line here like this. Then we bring the next element, of course, that is factory heat. So let's bring it up. So the next element, of course, is factory heat. And we said, okay, based on the scenario under consideration, we could still use the cubic space to share that. And the total factory heat we are sharing is $5,000. Okay, $5,000. So you share using the same workings we did here. So it's going to be almost the same things, like almost the same thing, just that a couple of things are going to be changing in here. So let me just pick this from here. And take it to the next slide. Oh, so I could paste it on the next slide and then we could just fix in the figures fast and go away. So this time around we are sharing 5,000. So let me clean this and clean this as well. So let's punch it out fastest hand. So the same things, but this time around multiply by 5,000 here, 5,000 here, and then 5,000 here. So let's multiply it up. Let's see what we get. Okay, so I'm getting heat. Amadou is saying processing is 3125. Okay. Feed me up with the figures real quick. Augustine, I see you. You are welcome. Gabriel Kogu, I see your figure as well. Thank you. Okay, Charles Nkrumah said 3125. Yes, Amadou has given that as well. So the next one is 25 over 80 multiplied by 5,000. Canteen 3125. How? It can't be the same figures. It can't be the same figures now because canteen is just 5,000, whilst processing is 50,000. Okay, so packaging. Okay, Amadi is saying packaging is 1562.5. So we can do 1563. Okay. And so 1563, yeah. So what is canteen? I think Abdul, Lord Fred said canteen is 3150, but I think that would be wrong. So let's get canteen again. So that's 5,000 divided by 80 multiplied by 5,000. That is 313 if we want to just work to the nearest thousand. Yes, 313. Thank you, Desmond and Abdul. So let's put them down. So 3125, 1563, 313. So we go back. 3125, 1563, 313. Are you getting the idea? So that's the same thing you do to share. That's the same thing you do to share the rest in relation to that. You go through the same workings, go through the same thing to be able to share the rest. So because of time constraint, I'll not be able to share all of them because I'll just pick the rest and bring the answers up for us. Now, processing, when it comes to supervisor, that is directly allocated. So we could bring that up. Supervisor. So we will say directly allocated. Because as you can see in the question, that is for processing and packaging, and it is 25,000 in total, 15 and 10,000. 15 for processing, 10,000 for this. So there are no supervisors in the canteen department, literally in the canteen department. Okay. All right. So that is the next element of cost in there. So supervisor is directly allocated, so we won't share. Then we come to depreciation of equipment. Depreciation of equipment. So here we said we can use the net book value of the equipment. And you can see that that is for only the processing and packaging as well as canteen. So we will use net book value of equipment. Net book value of equipment. Net book value of equipment. And the total we are sharing is how much? 7,000. So let's bring it up. Then let's share. So let's punch it out. The total value of equipment here, 300, 300, 100, that would be 700. So let's go to our working slide and add that there. So equipment. So we are sharing a total of 7,000, I guess, $7,000. So let's punch this out real quick. So processing is going to come in, packaging is going to come in, and then canteen will take its cost in there. Canteen will take its cost in there. So let's see, I think 300,000 here, all divided by 700,000 times $7,000. Packaging is also having the same thing, 300,000 over 700,000 times 7,000. Then I think canteen is 100,000 over 700,000 times 7,000. So fastest hand, let's get the answers up real quick. Let's see and bring the answers up real quick. Processing, 3,000. Okay, so that means this one will also be 3,000. So that this will be 1,000. Am I right? Yeah. So 3,000, 3,000, then 1,000. In that case, that's what we're sharing. That's what we're sharing. So 3,000, 3,000, then 1,000 in that case. So now that we have it, we're going to pull it up 3,000 and go back to our analysis sheets and have it down here, 3,000, 3,000, and then 1,000. And pull it up here in that case. Okay, so that is for the depreciation. Okay, I see a question coming in from Augustine said, please, this might be necessary in relation to this topic. What are the reasons for selecting right cost drivers and the reason for the computation of the overhead absorption rate? We've not reached overhead absorption rate computation yet. Here we are just sharing the overheads. So we are not absorbing the overheads. We are apportioning the overheads. So Augustine, stay with me. We've done overhead allocation and we are now on overhead apportionment. We are not absorbing the overheads yet. So what we are computing is not the overhead absorption rate. Instead, they are the apportionment, the amounts we're going to be having in that case. So stay with me because we're going to be going through that in a moment. Okay. So what is the next cost item? Let's see. Fast. Factory canteen expenses. Factory canteen expenses. So let's see what's going on with the factory canteen expenses. That is going to be 18,000 in there. So we're going to bring it up. Now, it says factory canteen expenses. So you realize that that is directly allocated to the canteen. Okay? That is directly allocated to the canteen. So we're not going to share that. We're not going to share that. It is directly for the canteen. So factory canteen. So that is going to be directly allocated. Okay, so nothing is going to be, so we are sharing 18,000, we are not sharing, sorry, dash, we put it here, 18,000. Does it make sense? This is a straight up thing there. I think I missed it earlier when I was doing the explanation. I didn't realize that there was factory canteen there. So we can't use the number of employees. So the next one is welfare cost of factory employees. That's 5,000. Welfare cost of factory employees. So welfare cost of employees. So with the welfare cost of employees, we're going to use the number of what? Employees. So let's go real quick on that. Fastest hand. So number of employees. The total amount we're sharing is $5,000. So we bring it up. Now, the number of employees we have is 50, 40, 10. So that's 100 in total. So let's pull it up and do the workings on that. So welfare of employees. We're sharing $5,000. So let's go processing, packaging, and then canteen. So processing is going to take 50 people over 100 times 5,000. This is going to take 40 people. I wanted to write $40. 40 people over 100 times 5,000. Then it's going to be taking 10 over 100 times 5,000. So let's see what we got. I guess this will be 2,500. Then maybe this is going to be 2,000. Could this be 2,000? Can you confirm? So that this will be 500 because that's around 10% of that. Okay. All right. So Ahono and Amadou confirmed. So 2,000, and then 500. So we go back to the sheet, and then we substitute it into it. So 2,500, 2,000, and then 500. So that is how we prepare the overhead analysis sheet. That is how we prepare the overhead analysis sheet. Now, someone saying, okay, Aholu is saying, I don't have the question. This is the question we are solving. This is the question we are solving, as you can see on the screen. So you can take a snapshot or a screenshot of it, and then you'll be able to follow through. Okay. So now that we finished sharing, let's get the totals. Let's get the totals. So we're going to add them up. So let's get a total at the bottom here. So let's add the processing together. Let's add the packaging together. And let's add the canteen together. Okay? So let's add them up. Fastest hand. Let's see what we got. So let's add them up. Let's see what we will have. Processing, what we got? 15,000 is here, 18. And this is going to be 15,000. So that is going to be 33,000. So 33,000 plus this one, 36,125. Okay. 36,125 for processing. Then let's go to packaging. That'll be 15,000. That'll be plus 7, 22,800 and is it 13? 22,813. 22,813. 22,813 for packaging. You can confirm that. And then canteen, it's gonna be 18,000 plus 1,000, 19 plus 500, 19,500 plus this 20,000 and 250, then 20,563, I guess. Can we confirm? Who's punching for me? Who's giving me some figures here? So 19,500, 20,500, 21,063, I guess. 21, yeah, and 63 here. So that's it. Then we can get the totals of the total itself as well. Amadou is saying no. Where are we getting it wrong? What are we getting wrong? So let's get the totals of the total. I think that is 80,000 that was given to us in the question. So 80,000. So that is how we prepare the overhead analysis sheet. Desmond said, please sir, sorry to take you back on the depreciation. How much was the net book value for canteen? Because I could not see the amount in the question. The net book value of canteen is 100,000. Like, you know, I think because of the document arrangement, this 100,000 here, can you see it? It's supposed to have been here. Supposed to have been here. So that is the 100,000 figure for the canteen. Okay. All right. So Amadou said, let's continue. So Desmond, I hope you get a figure now. So the 100,000 should have been under the canteen, but you know the figures were arranged in some way in that case. So that is what we mean by overhead apportionment. Overhead apportionment. So this is the overhead analysis sheet. You prepare it using the various bases of apportionment. What you have to take into consideration and note is that usually some of the cost will be directly allocated. So if the cost is directly allocated, then what is going to happen is that you just bring it up. Like what we saw on the factory canteen. We realized that it was relating to the canteen, so we brought it straight up under the canteen. Then another thing we saw was the supervisor. And we realized that with the supervisor, it was directly allocated, so we brought it under the processing, and then the packaging, under the processing and the packaging. So these were directly allocated costs, hence we didn't have to do any apportionment for them in that case. We didn't have to do any apportionment for them in that case. Now, after you apportion, there is the next level called reapportionment. Reapportionment. Now, there are various methods of reapportionment because at the end of the day, you see, the service department, the canteen is a service department. It exists because of the processing and the packaging department. So at the end of the day, we need to reapportion the service cost. We need to reapportion the service cost. So reapportionment of service overheads to the departments. Sometimes this is called secondary reapportionment because the canteen is a service center. They don't produce anything. They don't do any work. All they do is they cook. So the canteen overhead has to be splitted between the processing department at the end of the day and the packaging department. Packaging department. Now, the canteen service cost we got from our workings in total was 21 and 63. So it is this 21 and 63 that we would try to reapportion. 21 and 63 that we would try to reapportion between packaging and what? Processing. That is what we mean by reapportionment. Now, with this kind of reapportionment, what is going to happen is that there are various methods that we can use to do the reapportionment. But I'm not going to be covering that on the stream here, but you can look at that later on. I could just go through it with you here on my slide. We have, depending on how the question is structured, the examiner will tell you how you are supposed to do the reapportionment. Sometimes the examiner can say you use the repeated distribution method. That's the first one you can see here on this one. We have the repeated distribution method. This is where you will share the service cost and they will get it again. Then you have to continue to share and share and share and share until the figure becomes insignificant. That is the reciprocal or the repeated distribution method. Then we have the direct distribution method. That is also in there. Then we have the elimination method and then the algebraic or the simultaneous equation method in that case. Among all these, what we will be excited about most of the time is the issue in relation to the reciprocal or the repeated distribution method. So for your assignment, as your assignment, you can go and then look at this as well there because of what we are covering. I will not be able to go through everything, but that is the idea where we try to reshare this canteen cost among between the processing and packaging, and the basis for the sharing will be given to us by the examiner. So it's not something that we need to figure out by ourselves, but the basis will be put there in that case. Right, so let's move on with the discussion. I hope everybody is okay. If you have any questions, you please put it across so that we look at it. You could see in my ebook that I actually covered all of these in the ebook. Lord Fred said, please, can I get a slide? No, you cannot get a slide, unfortunately, because I'm going through the questions from my ebook, actually, from my book in management accounting. So it's not possible for us to send those documents out to anybody in that case. So we've looked at overhead allocation. We said it is about charging overheads to a particular cost center or cost unit. Then we came to the second one, the second stage, and that is overhead apportionment. And we said this is about sharing the overheads between the cost centers on a reasonable basis in that case. So the last one we want to look at is overhead absorption. Overhead absorption. So stay with me carefully as we build our knowledge on this one. So what is overhead absorption? What is overhead absorption? One-liner definition as always. Overhead absorption is the process whereby overhead costs allocated and apportioned to production cost centers are added to cost units, job, or batch cost. Are added to cost units, job, or batch costs. Are added to cost units, job, or batch cost. Another name for overhead absorption is also overhead recovery. So sometimes we can have overhead absorption rates. It is the same as the overhead recovery rate. Okay, overhead absorption rate, which is the same as the overhead recovery rate. Okay, it's the same thing in that case. Now, there are various bases of absorption of overheads that we need to know about. 6 of them will be of interest to us that we need to look at. But before we calculate the overhead absorption rate or the overhead recovery rate, the general formula for the overhead absorption rate is going to be the total budgeted overheads. The total budgeted overheads divided by the budgeted activity, total budgeted activity level. Now, this is the general formula, okay? That is the general formula on the computation. Now, I see some of you joining. Welcome to the stream. If you join, you are getting some value. Smash the like button on the video. It helps us a lot, and YouTube will be able to push the video so we can reach as many students as possible. Also consider sharing the video if you have to your colleagues, friends, and the people who will be needing lectures like this, doing ACCA F2, ACCA F5, ICA Introduction to Man Accounting, ICA Management Accounting proper. Then the issue in relation to CIMA P1, that is also a valuable thing there that you need to look out for. Thank you very much. I see some of you smashing the like button. Thank you very much. Also, remember that you can enroll in our full course online at 390 Ghana cedis per paper on our and be able to get access to my ebooks, question kits, the lecture videos, and join our weekly live Zoom sessions. At 390 Ghana cedis, you're going to get all of these to help you to be able to prepare well for the examination. So if that is something that you are looking at, you can visit NhyiraPremium.com and enroll in the full course. You can make payment directly online. If you're outside Ghana, it is $68, but you have to check the exchange rate as at the time before you proceed with your enrollment in that case. Henry Tete Barriga said, please, this topic, is it for level 1 or level 2? Please, this is both for ICA level 1 and ICA level 2. It's really critical and fundamental for the two of them in that case. So it is valuable for both level 1 and level 2 students in the ICA examination. Henry. So what are the steps we go through in the computation of the overhead recovery rate or the overhead absorption rate? Let's look at them real quick. Number 1, we estimate the overhead likely to be incurred during the period. So what are the total overheads that we are likely to be incurring during the period under consideration? We estimate that. Then number 2, we estimate the activity level for the period. Now the activity level could be the labor hours, could be the unit, could be the direct cost, or whatever basis of apportionment that the entity so wish to be used to absorb the overheads. Then we divide the estimated overhead by the budgeted activity level, so that this gives us the overhead absorption rate. So step one, we estimate the total overheads we are likely to incur. Step two, we estimate the total activity level that we will have. Now, that is going to be dependent on whichever level of activity the entity is going to be using. Then we divide to get the overhead recovery rate or the overhead absorption rate. Then we can now absorb the overheads into the unit cost by applying the calculated rate. The fourth step is what we are interested in. At the end of the day, we want to find out how do we absorb the total overheads into the cost of the product or a service. That is what we are interested in that case. So let's look at the various bases of apportionment, and then let's go through them real quick in my slide. So you could see from my slide that I have about 8 of the methods that we can use, but we're going to be much excited about probably 6 of them. The first 6, we could be much excited about the first 6, but let's go through all of them since they are all in my slide in that case. So remember I told you yesterday that fundamentally, it is assumed that when it comes to absorption costing, overheads is absorbed using labor hours. However, overhead could be absorbed using machine hours, direct material cost, direct labor. So let's look at the basis. The first one there is what? A percentage of direct material cost, a percentage of direct labor cost, a percentage of prime cost, a rate per machine hour, a rate per direct labor hour, a rate per unit. Then we could also have a percentage of factory cost if we are dealing with administrative overheads. Then a percentage of sales or factory cost if we are dealing with selling and distribution overheads. So these are the various bases of apportionment. Now, the key question we need to answer here is this: how is the computation done, and under what circumstance do we use which? Okay, that is very, very critical, and we need to make sure we know this very well. How is the computation done, and under what circumstance do we use which one? So let's look at them one after the other. 1, direct material cost. Direct material cost. Stay with me carefully here. So this method absorbs overheads on the basis of direct material cost incurred. So the formula is this. All the ones with costs are going to be multiplied by 100, so we will get our answers in percentage, so that it will become X% of direct material cost. X% of direct material cost. So that becomes the overhead absorption rate or the overhead recovery rate that we actually going to be having in the X% of the direct material cost. Now, I'm going to be explaining how this actually works in a moment. But under what condition can we use the direct material cost method to absorb the overheads? 2, I've listed here, where the direct material cost forms a significant portion of the production cost. So where the direct material cost forms a significant portion of the production cost, boom, then we can use that to absorb it. Then where most firms in the industry use this method. So if based on the industry we are in, most of the firms in the industry use this method, why not we also use it as an organization in that case? So that is the thing there about the direct material cost. Next one is direct labor cost. Like, the idea is going to be simple and the same in here. So here we are absorbing the overheads using the labor cost. So our answer here is going to be, again, X% of direct labor cost. X% of direct labor cost. Now, the way overheads are absorbed is that the figures you are going to be having, this X% of direct labor cost, X% of direct material cost, it is whatever percentage you have on the actual direct material cost, whatever percentage you have of the actual labor cost. And I'm going to get into this soon, so stay with me carefully here. So we will apply the rate on the actual events that occurred. So whatever basis of apportionment we are using, that becomes the benchmark for us, so that when we are absorbing the overheads, we are going to be pulling this up in that case. When we absorb the overheads, we're going to be pulling this up in that case. But under what circumstance do we use this? Just like the first one. So where direct labor cost forms a significant portion of production, meaning that the company is more or less like labor intensive. So we are using labor intensive production system as an entity, meaning we use a lot of human efforts than machines. Then labor costs to be high. Labor costs will form a significant portion of the total production cost. For that reason, we need to absorb the overhead using the direct labor cost. And then two, where most firms in the industry actually use it. Where most firms in the industry actually use it. Then we go to the third one, and that is going to be prime cost. Prime cost. Now, you know prime cost already is the summation of all the direct costs. So if the organization is not too excited about just the material, but material and labor both form a significant portion of the production of the organization or the production cost, then we wouldn't single out one. We wouldn't single out material or single out labor. We would have to use the two in the computation of the overhead recovery rate. So here also our answer is going to be X% of the prime cost. X% of prime cost. So whatever figure we get, if it is 20% of prime cost, it means the overheads that we're going to be absorbing will be 20% of the actual prime cost. 20% of the actual prime cost. 20% of the actual prime cost. So what are the circumstances under which we use this? We've mentioned that already. If prime costs form a significant portion of the company's production, then it will be good for us to absorb the overheads, definitely using the prime cost. So that is the first three you need to understand. Direct material cost, our answer will be X% of direct material cost. Direct labor cost, our answer will be X% of direct labor cost. Prime cost, our answer will be X% of the prime cost in that case, X% of the prime cost. Note that the overhead recovery rate that you are computing, you are going to express it on the actual events that occurred during the period. You will express it on the actual events occurring or that occurred during the period. So let's move on to the fourth one, and that is going to be machine hour rate. So here we are absorbing the overheads using the machine hour rate. So if you are using the machine hour rate, it means that we're going to have the overhead absorption rate to be budgeted overheads divided by budgeted machine hours. So here our answer is going to be X dollars. Our answer is going to be X dollars per machine hour. X dollars per machine hour. So whatever rates that you compute, whatever rates that you get, you're going to be applying that on the actual machine hours that you're going to be looking at in that case. Amadou Abdul said, "Sir, please, do you do only management accounting?" Are you referring to the live streams? Amadou, if you are referring to the live stream, no, we don't do only management accounting. We cover all the subjects based on the questions that we get from you guys. So financial reporting, we cover. If you check the channel, you realize that we have over 500 videos already, and we cover a lot of things on the live stream. So we could do man accounting, we could do financial reporting, we could do public sector, we could do financial management. We cover everything on the channel. We cover everything on the channel. Henry Tete said, "Sir, please, do you have a particular day for treating man accounting?" No, we don't have. We don't have. It is based on the questions we received from you guys that we schedule the meeting. So you can follow me on Instagram for you to know what we will be covering for each day, because it will be posted on my Instagram page. So you know if it is a subject you are learning, then you can make time to join. If it is not a subject you are learning, then you can look at elsewhere in that case. So on the live stream, we cover almost every subject based on the questions that we get. So when we get the questions, we consolidate the questions, then we'll be able to cover it on the live stream like this. Augustine said, so can it be said that overhead absorption rate determines a proxy for absorbing overhead costs? Yes, to some extent, we can say that. Yes, we can say that. So when can we use machine hours to absorb the overheads? Yes, since it is machine, it means that the organization is using capital intensive. Organization is using capital intensive. Okay, so Abdul is saying that I will be grateful if you could take us through the standards, like crucial ones. We've covered a number of the standards on the live stream already, Amadou. So you can check this playlist on my channel, Accounting Standard Series. Accounting Standard Series on the channel. In this playlist, you will get almost all the lecture videos, and I also share with you how to study the standard and pass them. So you can watch that video exclusively as well, because in that video, I pointed out the various ways that you need to learn the standards and how they are connected with each other. So Accounting Standard Series, that's the playlist on the channel. We've covered a number of the standards. Even in 2021, as we started this live stream, we've covered IAS 16, IAS 40, I guess, IAS 23, IAS 20. We've covered all these standards already on the channel, and we're going to be covering some more as we proceed there. But if you check this playlist, Accounting Standard Series, you're going to get a lot of the accounting standards that you will need in order to pass the examination. But if you want to go the extra mile, then you can consider enrolling in our full course online at 390 Ghana cedis per paper. This gives you access to all our lecture videos covering all of the standards, getting access to the ebooks and the question kit so that you can solve as many questions as possible. Then you'll be able to join our weekly live Zoom sessions, and financial reporting is on Fridays, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Man accounting is on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So in case you want to go the extra mile, you really want to get access to the content the way you like it and get practical questions and have me as your personalized mentor to assist you, then maybe you can consider enrolling in the full course at 390 Ghana cedis per paper and be able to get access to all the contents in there. So machine hours is applicable if we are in a capital intensive environment, so less amount of labor. And then if most firms in the industry use this method, then we also go for it. Then the direct labor hour rate, that is also, our answer is going to be X dollars per direct labor hour, X dollars per direct labor hour, X dollars per direct labor hour in that case. So here, if we are labor intensive, we use this method as well in that case. So like I mentioned to you earlier, this note is very, very critical in here. This note is very, very critical in here. Machine hour rates and direct labor hour rates are the most popular absorption rates. Okay, that's why I told you that on the fundamental level, if the examiner is quiet, you are likely going to be absorbing the overheads using either the direct labor hours or machine hours, depending on how excited the examiner is and what is included in the question However, due to technology and machine and all those things, the machine hour, it's really taking roots in recent times in that case. So we've looked at the first 5, the direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses, sorry, direct material, direct labor cost, prime cost. Then we've looked at the direct labor rate and then the machine rate. The next one is production unit. That is the sixth one I would want to share with you. So this one is applicable where the entity uses or produces homogeneous products or similar products or standardized products, and the output of the products are easily measurable or can be accounted for. Then we use the production rate here. So with this one, what's going to happen is that our answer will be X dollars per production unit. X dollars per production unit. And that is how we deal with that in that case. So these are the 6 bases of absorption of overheads that you need to know about: the direct material cost, the direct labor cost, the prime cost, the direct labor hours, the machine hours, and then the production units. These are the 6. In the question, your assignment is to be able to know, or your goal is to be able to know which overhead absorption rate the entity is using to absorb its overheads. Remember, like I told you, this is very critical for budgeting and budgetary control. This is very critical for standard costing and variance analysis. This is very critical for the preparation of the profit statement when you are dealing with the issue in relation to absorption costing, marginal costing, and activity-based costing in that case. So that is why the accounting for overheads, it's something critical that you need to understand. So these are the 6 bases of apportionment. Any questions for me? Any questions for me? Any questions for me? So I'm going to be concluding around here today on the stream as we continue tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to be concluding on the overheads. We're going to be solving questions on the overheads and find out how we can actually put the pieces together. So how do we really prepare the overhead analysis sheet? And how do we prepare the cost card under the marginal costing, the absorption costing, and then the activity-based costing? We're going to be crunching all of that up tomorrow as we conclude on this discussion in here. So if there are any questions, please put them in the chat box for me as I conclude on our discussion for today here. And if you have any inquiries, you can call or WhatsApp 050-114-9296, 050-114-9296, or you can visit our website to enroll in our full course, www.nhyirapremium.com, and be able to enroll in the full course and get access to the ebooks, the question kits, and study directly under my mentorship for the examination in that case. So Gabriel Kogu said, thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Amen. God bless you too. Abdul said, many thanks. Grateful for your time. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Right, so thank you very much for joining the stream. As always, it's really, really a privilege for me coming your way and for you guys joining me for us to go through this together as we assist you in order for you to prepare well for the examination and most importantly, pass the exams. Like I tell you all the time, don't put the book down 2 weeks to the exams and start attending any intervention class. Start learning from now, because whatever you call it, intervention class, revision master class, executive revision master class, whatever name you put on it, those intervention or revision classes are for students who have been studying and they need a leap, a little push to finish up. It's not for lazy people who sit down throughout the period and take a leave 2 weeks to the exams, thinking they can crunch 2 weeks of studying into 16 weeks of studying into 2 weeks or 1 week magic and go and pass the exams. So please make sure that you put in the effort, you put in the work, continue to study, continue to really put in the effort, put in the work, and practice a lot of questions. Once you understand the basic principles, expose yourself to a lot of questions. And once you're exposing yourself to a lot of questions, the more questions you solve, the better your chances are to passing the examination finally in that case. Augustine Barton said, Gracia, bro. Thank you also, Augustine. Daniel said, I have come late, but I watched later in the download. Okay. All right. So you can watch it later then in that case. So thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for the support and the continual joining us on the live stream. Remember, you can follow me on Instagram at Nhyira Premium because the day's meeting and what we're going to be discussing will be posted on my Instagram page. So you can follow me on Instagram at Nhyira Premium, the same name on the channel. In case you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. But most importantly, click on the bell notification icon. That way, even if you forget and I go live, YouTube will send you the notification, or Facebook will also send you the notification so you can study well in relation to that. So you can study well in relation to that. So thank you very much for joining the stream. And I'll catch you same time tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. GMT as we continue with our discussion. Till we meet again tomorrow, stay safe, stay blessed, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.